Hello everyone and welcome to the Plants But Better channel. My name is Adina and today we're doing a repot. So do you remember this plant? This plant definitely doesn't have any problems with the roots. The only problem that this plant has is me forgetting to repotting it. This is a Syngonium pink splash or a Syngonium red spot, and I just did a care guide on this video in which I discovered that I really pretty much need to do a repot. I've been neglecting this plant on purpose for the sake of this video, just to show you what happens if you wait too much until you do a repot. And as you can see, I have yellowing leaves. This happens for a lot of reasons. Maybe you underwater your plant, or you overwater your plant, or maybe the plant doesn't have any more space to grow. And if you keep your plant in the nursery pot or in a plastic pot and you have a planter, while you water that plant, and if you don't pay attention, some of the water could stay at the bottom, and if that happens, your roots could start to rot, like it's the case with this plant right here. And you need to cut the dead stuff so you can prevent more rotting to happen. I promised a repot on this plant a few weeks ago, and maybe the next video will be about this plant's repot. And finally, today is the time. I have with me some gloves, my lucky gloves, some nursery pots. I will be reusing some nursery pots that I previously washed before. I recommend you do the same thing, especially if you have a plant that has died in that planter, in that nursery pot, because you could still have bacteria, bad bacteria in your pot, and you want to be getting rid of it before you place a healthy plant in your pot again. I have two different sizes because I have 3 plants in here, and depending on the size of the roots, I will be placing them in different pots. If the roots are stronger, then this is the way to go. But if I don't like the roots that much, I will be mindful to place them in a smaller space. I have a sterilized pair of scissors and I will cut the dead stuff off first. You can cut a bit of the healthy root as well, 2 or 3 millimeters or something, just to make sure you get rid of all the bad bacteria from the roots. And again, to prevent the spreading of the rot, just be gentle. Try not to cut the healthy root system as well. I have in here the dead stuff. And next, I will use this tray and try to gently press the soil so that it can easily fall down onto this tray. I have a mix based on perlite, some cocoa fiber and some orchid barks. Orchid barks are super important in my opinion for this plant because they help with aeration, and if your space is a bit colder or maybe it's not ventilated that often, then you should be aiming for a substrate that does a great job in aeration, in draining the water. There is no need to cut the pot in this situation. However, if your plant is stuck, I would pretty much advise you to use the scissors so that you can cut the pot as well. It's not worth saving a nursery pot for the plant for the sake of the roots' health. Let's see if I have surprises on this plant, because sometimes if you wait for too long, you could have root rot. And unfortunately, I do have a little bit of root rot on this plant. Let me show you. So as you can see, I have a little bit of root rot in here and in here, and I will be cutting it off. And because I have a little bit of root rot on this plant, I won't be reusing the original substrate. If your roots are healthy, you don't need to do that. It's actually recommended to keep some of the original substrate on your root system, but because mine is not like 100% healthy, I will not keep it. I will try to get rid of it. The substrate could be the house of a lot of bacteria, and I don't want that to affect the future growth of this plant. I have in here 3 plants and I feel like dividing them today. Yeah. What am I doing? Why did I mention gloves when I'm not using them? After you remove the substrate as much as you can, try to gently separate the roots. And if you have the time and patience, you can separate it one by one. And I recommend to do that just so you can minimize the damage on the roots. And I'm doing this repotting in November, so winter is coming. Usually I do my repotting during growing season, but if your plant really needs a repot, you should do it. And because it's November and the temperatures are a bit colder and some plants go dormant, you have to be very careful to not damage the roots that much. Because after a repot, usually a plant spends its energy on the root system. But if it's winter, you have to help your plant as much as you can. Like, go to the least amount of stress possible. Something is happening here. I'm trying to separate this root and it's not coming. It's stuck. It's okay if you break some roots. I mean, you will break some roots if you repot your plant, but try to take your time. I mean, if you are in a rush, I won't advise you to repot a plant. Maybe that's why I procrastinate sometimes in doing so. We have the first plant. Let me show you the roots and let's get on to the next one. Okay, almost there. Most of the roots are very healthy. Even though a Syngonium likes its soil to be a bit moist, I water mine when it's completely dry. And that's because I had a horrible experience with root rot in the past. I have divided my plants. For sure, 2 of them need the bigger pots, and this one will receive the smaller and cuter pot. And I think I will cut a bit of the stem because, as you can see, it's very long and it has rotted a little bit. I don't have any viable node. I don't have auxiliary buds on this part of the stem, so that's why I will just cut it and throw it away. As I've said, I will not reuse this substrate because it has some dead roots in here, and that's why I will remove the dead stuff in this tray as well. So you can use your gardening gloves and the dead stuff will come off right away. And for the thicker roots, use your scissors and cut that shit away. And cut that problem. Cut it from your life. Okay, this is how it looks like. These roots are now clean and ready to go into a new substrate. I will put this plant in here and then I will move on to the next plant, and this one has a yellow leaf, and this yellow leaf, as I've said earlier, is caused by the lack of space in there, and also it could be caused by dehydration. There you go. It has an interesting color because the green just fades away into a yellow and the pink, it's still there. It's just a bit more yellowish, but it's still there. I have some aerial roots on this plant as well, maybe because the humidity in this space is very, very high. And sometimes I see people confused because they don't know what aerial roots are and they think something strange is happening to their plants. But no worries, aerial roots are totally normal. They actually help a lot if you want to propagate your plant. Let's cut away some dead stuff. I think I'm done. Do you see some healthy roots right here? I'm amazed because I don't have that much root rot. I mean, I've prepared for worse, but this plant is very, very healthy, especially since I know I've been neglecting it for a bit. This is one of the plants that I find it so easy care. I mean, it's almost like any other Syngonium potophyllum. It's super friendly. If it wants water, it will tell you. And other than that, if you really want like an accessible Syngonium that has variegation, and this one it's pink, it's a very desirable plant. This one might be for you because look at this. Look at this. It's pink and it's so pretty. Again, healthy roots for a healthy, beautiful plant. This one will be dead soon because it's 100% pink, but I will keep it there until it's dead. I will not get rid of it today. Great. So this is the substrate, the original substrate. As you can tell, I have some of the dead roots in here. Some of the healthy roots broke as well. Damage on the healthy roots is inevitable as well. So you don't need to worry a lot about the damage, but try to be as gentle as possible. Okay, we are moving on to present you the substrate. I will be using for this repot a mix based on coco coir, some orchid barks, perlite and regular potting soil. The coco coir is great for absorbing the water, and that is helpful because Syngoniums in general like that, a bit of moisture in their substrate. The orchid bark helps immensely with the drainage, and especially if you do your repot in winter, I think it's essential to have in your substrate. The perlite again with the drainage. If you don't have orchid bark but but you have access to perlite, double the amount and use that in your substrate. And the regular potting soil is great for its nutrients and for the overall stability of the substrate. Let's mix this substrate and you will get a very lightweight mix. I love that on my plants. They deserve the best. Let me mix it and I'll be right back. This substrate is a very affordable option for your Syngonium. If you have other mix options for your plant, but do a great job in draining the water, then you could use that as well. Just make sure that the pH levels are balanced. Okay, let's see. Put a bit of the substrate on the base. I don't usually put a lot, a centimeter or so. I will take my plant and place it in here and make sure the roots have room to breathe. No, I think this is great. It does need a bigger pot, that's for sure. Take some of your substrate and do your job. Gently press the substrate, especially since this one is very lightweight and your plant could stay a bit bent at first because it needs to adapt to its new medium. This is the first plant, it's ready. I will take the second plant and do the same thing. I don't like to fill the whole pot with substrate. I mean, I usually keep a centimeter or maybe more on top just to have room to water my plants. Second one is ready, and the last one I will be using this tiny pot. I will gently place the plant in here and you know the drill. Place your substrate and you're ready to go. There you have it, the tiny baby. This one is a bit bent, but it's just because it grew up like that. I will fix it on a pole probably. I think I will get some poles for each and every one of this pot. Maybe not the smallest one, but I will help them grow upwards and hopefully they will vine pretty soon. I forgot mentioning, but after you're done repotting, water your plant until the substrate is completely wet. There you have it, the repot I've been promising to myself to do for quite some time. And I don't find it like necessarily a problem that I procrastinated for so long. It's okay to procrastinate. Don't feel bad if you have a plant that really needs a repot and you leave it for too long because sometimes you don't have the time, or maybe you're not in the right mood, or maybe you just really need to prioritize something else. Your plant will be fine, but please keep in mind that you could lose some leaves if you don't repot your plant in time. So there you have it. This was the pink splash repot or red spot repot. Oh, red spot repot. That sounds kind of good. Maybe I'll use that as a title. The red spot repot. If you have any questions about repotting in winter or repotting Syngoniums, just let me know in the comments. If you want to know more about this plant, we also have a video care guide about it. We just recently posted. I will put it in here. We also have a blog. I will leave it in the description box. If you like this video, leave it a thumbs up or consider subscribing for more plant content like this. And until next time, don't forget to take care of yourself and your plants.